Hey YouTube, this week's topic is feminism. I've never identified as a feminist. I really don't know much about the feminist culture or anything regarding feminism, so I'm just going to ramble on because usually I just ramble on. I have a lot of good friends that are feminist and identify as feminists, and I have a close friend who goes to this college that's very liberal. I have a close friend that goes to this very liberal college, and she's involved with like the feminist club. I think she's like one of the founding members or something of her feminist club, so she's really involved with it. And I have some other friends that are feminists, but they're actually just cisgender. I don't really know specifically anybody who's transgender that I'm close with that identifies as a feminist that I actually know in real life. I mean, I've seen online tons of trans men identifying as feminists, but I don't really know them. Like I was saying, I have a few friends that are very involved in the whole feminist community. I don't know much about the culture. I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask about this, but I'll talk a little bit about my opinion of why some trans men may identify as feminists. I feel as if us being trans men, we are living our lives kind of on two sides of the fence, growing up as female and then transitioning to male, where we're seen very differently. Growing up, we're being seen and viewed as just females, and then transitioning to male, we gain this like sense of male privilege, so we can use our newfound male privilege and growing up as female to kind of see that we've had like the best of both worlds in an aspect, to quote the wonderful and wise Hannah Montana, and that we've done both of those roles in our lives. We've experienced both gender roles, even if we've never necessarily acted as a female or never felt as a female. We were still like kind of pushed on these views by society of how females should be treated and act and such. So therefore, because of that kind of molds our transition in an aspect, because we were raised female. And I feel as if trans men identify as feminists because they can use the knowledge of being viewed and raised as female to incorporate it into the idea of getting rid of oppression that's used against females. Probably literally made no sense, but what I'm trying to say is I feel as if trans men identify as feminists because they've been there in situations or just growing up in life as a female and just seeing the differences in how they're treated now as male with a new found male privilege. Probably literally made no sense, but what I'm trying to say is I feel as if trans men identify as feminists because they've been there in situations or just growing up in life as a female and just seeing the differences in how they're treated now as male with a new found male privilege. Probably literally made no sense, but what I'm trying to say is I feel as if trans men identify as feminists because they've been there in situations or just growing up in life as a female and just seeing the differences in how they're treated now as male with a new found male privilege. It's really rad that some of my friends identify as feminists because so many things go on in society that we just let pass through the cracks, such as how other women are treated differently as opposed to men, about how, you know, women are usually paid less. Like, things happen in society that we're just so used to that we neglect, and it's pretty disgusting. But I feel feminism is important because feminists more or less recognize situations that kind of crack the whole social construct of men being triumphant over females. And I think it's really cool how feminists have rallies and support groups and all that to build up morale for other females. We're so prone to what's going on in society, how females are always targeted and all this kind of stuff, and it's really sad in an aspect because we don't necessarily think about it because everything seems so second nature. If you like walk down the streets of like Manhattan or something, you're gonna bound to see like a dude wearing a shirt that's like, cool story babe, now make me a sandwich. Society is so prone to having men act like douchebags to women, and even just like if you see a young female walking down the street, may or may not have guys like whistling at her, making these rude and uncalled for, I think it's called like cat calling noises, like the whistle, like the, or yeah, that's cat calling. Is it cat calling or is it like wolf calling or what is it? You know what I mean. I never took the time out of my day to be a feminist just because I'm just so busy with my life, and necessarily it's not something that I really fell into, but I think it's really cool and it's important when other transgender men are interested into the idea of feminism. I cannot speak today, I'm so overtired right now. I think it's really cool that other transgender guys can identify as feminists and help out with that community, because it's something that's very important, and I feel as if we have an advantage just because we've lived on both sides of the fence. We see how society has treated us differently as females and now as males, so I feel as if it is very important when trans guys get involved in the whole idea of feminism, which is really awesome. I know that's kind of an oxymoron just because I'm not necessarily involved with the feminist community. It's just I never really had such a strong kind of calling towards being a feminist. I am all about women's rights. I will definitely stand up for anyone or anything, and I support all my friends that are feminists. I just never really got suckered into it and all that with the politics of the whole feminism. And there's so much that goes into being a feminist because there's a lot of ideas and social constructs that feminists are concentrating on, such as abortion, rape, just being treated differently, the difference in pay for men and women. So there's so many different priorities of the feminist community that's going on, so there's just so much. There's not just one right or wrong way to be a feminist and to be involved, but I think it's pretty cool when trans men are involved, because it shows that even though we don't identify as female anymore, we still have some sort of bond with the struggle of being seen as a female in a society where sadly males are seen dominant.